Good morning, my dear friends. Welcome to my channel or welcome back. My name is Sarita. I just woke up this morning and, in a very serendipitous fashion, was staring at several of my candles that I have off screen here on my ledge. And just in a completely coincidental manner, there were several candles that seemed like they were just all sitting together, almost as if a fairy had put them there. I mean, I did, obviously. They just collected, though, you know? And they all seemed like they were kind of maybe the same genre. And by chance, I went over and started sniffing them. And I realized that they are actually very similar candles, very similar scents. And I adore each and every one of them. And they're not dupes of each other. I mean, they're all different, but they have similar notes and they evoke a similar vibe. And it's a gorgeous vibe. It's a certain genre, it's a certain whatever. So then I conceived of this new series, Similar Scents. You know how, and you probably do, especially if you have like certain scent preferences. You, if you thought about it, probably have a lot of candles that are very much in the same genre and smell very similar to each other. And sometimes we often don't burn them in conjunction with each other. And sometimes, especially if we have an extensive storage, we don't even smell them in conjunction with each other. But if we went through and we selected them, we could come up with entire categories of candles that actually smell very similar, especially when you start thinking about different candle companies. Because often when we store candles, or at least when I do, I store them according to like candle brand, yes? But then if you think across brands, the candles that are similar, not the candles that are dupes, that's something different. And frankly, is not as special, I think, as the candles that are in the same genre and evoke the same thing. It's a really good, if you haven't done it, like maybe go to your collection and look. It gives you a really good indication if you had no idea what your scent preference is. It gives you a very strong indication of what your scent preference is. It's kind of like when you date a million people and you're not really sure if you have a type, and then your friends are like, you have a type. Look at the last 5 people you dated. So, and then there's just like family characteristics, right? If you're not sure what your tastes are in terms of candles or your scent preferences, this is a really good indication. So anyway, there are these random, and I didn't even go back in my collection and get more because I want to honor this like serendipitous fairy moment. So I just pulled all 5 of these candles and I just want to talk about what I'm smelling. And I haven't looked at the notes recently, and I'm not going to tell you what the notes are because it's not about that. It's about what I'm smelling on cold and what I'm picking up in terms of this vibe. So as you probably saw, I called this Forest Florals. I think that's what these are. Now, caveat, at least one of them I don't think has any floral in it. So maybe Forest Florals is not particularly right, but I wanted kind of a catch-all category that said these are forest smells that you wouldn't necessarily associate with Christmas or with fall. Because there are a lot of like foresty candles that are just very cold weather. And some people, like the minute and I mean, myself included, sometimes when you smell like balsam, for instance, a very strong balsam, like your immediate association is Christmas tree. You just think Christmas right off, yeah? And we tend to not do a whole lot of balsam candles at other seasons, which I think is a big mistake because balsam actually is one of those rare botanicals that is year round, that is a presence year round. You can walk in a forest at any time, you know? And frankly, it smells pretty similar, you know, with many of those evergreen trees, but not not exactly the same, because there's certain things in a forest that grows in the spring, you know? and it intermingles with that balsam, right? This reminds me, and this candle is not here, and I'm not even sure, I don't even think that I have it right now on hand because I burned it last year or the year before that. But what was the Bath and Body Works candle? The sea salt and balsam? Was it balsam and sea salt? Sea salt and balsam, something like that. Oh, that was a great candle. And it had that like briny ocean kind of smell to it with the balsam. And it was just so obviously not like fall or Christmassy in a loud way. Like you could burn it at all times. And I think they even put it out in like spring, you know? Or even summer, and it was a great summer burn for me. It kind of felt very like Northwest coastal, you know, Washington, Oregon, you know, especially when the weather is not so forbidding that you're like taking summer, you know, hikes through those coastal woods, and then you come out to the ocean, right? And you've got the ocean brine, which is just so summery and so great. And then you've also got like the forest smells at the same time. I think this category is underutilized in home fragrance. And it's one that should be utilized more, which is forest, which is with us all the time. And at all times, like an all seasonal kind of forest vibe, right? And for me personally, these 5 candles, many of which I haven't even burned yet, so caveats there. In many ways, this video is almost completely useless, so I apologize for that. But these candles here are so welcome because I don't know about you, but I've been burning a ton of florals lately. Probably too many florals. I'm just not in love with florals the way that some people are. And so while I do appreciate a limited spate of them, I'm starting to get weary and fatigued. And even a little bit weary and fatigued of like fruit candles. And like, it's like I'm already sick of spring, basically. And to be able to smell some of these like forest smells, it is literally like transporting yourself and just walking through a forest. And no matter what time of year that is, that can just be a blessing, right? To just walk into a cool, dark forest. Spring, summer, fall, winter, anytime, yes? But there is something especially evocative about walking into a forest in the spring and in the summer because you're not thinking about it. Like you're thinking about like hanging out at the pool or like the lake or whatever else it is. And to be able to go into it, you're thinking tropical, you're thinking floral, you're thinking all these, but then to be able to walk through into a forest which is cooling, which is calming. I mean, there are studies on what like forest does to you, right? Yeah. It's like an enormous palate cleanser for your spirit. And in terms of fragrance, it's always a palate cleanser in a very like smell kind of way. Not just a spiritual way, but like in an almost tactile kind of way, right? So anyway, preamble over. I love this particular genre, and I think it is, like I said, a little underutilized in terms of fragrance. But look at this. I have like 3 candle companies here represented. Yeah, well, one of them is maybe more like, well, actually 4, but it's really 3. Anyway, okay, let's just talk about the ones that I've got. So I have 2 from Kringle, one of which is actually marketed for Christmas time. Oh, look at this! All of a sudden, randomly, my camera is focusing. The camera gives, the camera takes away. Don't question the candle. Or the camera. Okay, Tinsel Thyme. This is the one that I don't think has any floral in it, by the way. But it was sitting next to the other ones, and it was close enough. And I said, okay, we'll do this one. This one is from Kringle, and it is very strongly in this like botanical forest spring kind of vibe, which is this one, which is also marketed for their Christmas season, and I think very mismarketed, and for that reason did not get the kind of audience that it should have gotten because it's a fantastic candle. And that is Frosted Branches with this look at that green. Look at that green. Yes. And yeah, I did get this particular one at TJ Maxx and Marshall's for $8. Oh my gosh. And I also bought like 4 more. Every time I encountered one at a TJ Maxx over the last like 4 or 5 months, I was like done coming home. So now I have like 4 or 5 of them, which is crazy. This is the paraffin, which they were like doing away with at TJ Maxx and Marshall. And I love paraffin, so it was a really great deal for me. And I love this candle. I've only burned it in daylight form. And I really liked it in daylight form. And I do think the strength and throw on this one is not quite where it should be, but the fragrance, stop, right? Okay, we'll talk about it. Frosty Branches is the other Kringle candle that I've got. I've got this one from Yankee. Just bought this one, Canyon Pine Trail, right here. And then I have I have another one from Yankee, but it's really Chesapeake Bay, and I just bought this one at Target, Midnight Forest. This is why they were on the ledge, by the way. Midnight Forest. And then last but not least, we have this one from Bath & Body Works, Cypress. Yeah. It's one of their like single ones. Haven't actually burned it yet. Probably I could put sea salt and balsam in this collection too. But I don't have one on hand, so there's that. Oh man, this is like a coffee with a great deal of liqueur kind of morning, if you know what I mean. To be clear, once I started pouring the liqueur in, it was like, I think this is more like liqueur with a little bit of coffee. Don't judge. And Advil. It's just been a week. It's been a week. And it's Friday morning, so. Okay. So let's just talk about what I'm smelling. These are just all so amazing. And when I started smelling them, I was just like, oh, just going from one to the other and just being so like awed by all of them. So let's start out with Cypress. Whoops. I'm sorry. I know that was super loud on the camera. Oh my gosh. I need some Bath & Body Works historians to talk to me. Talk to me right now. Has Cypress been out in a candle form? Has it been out in a 3-wick candle form? How old is this fragrance? Has it been on the floor relatively recently? Like, what is the deal on Cypress? This is not a candle that I have smelled in the last like 3 years. And it is fantastic. I mean, obviously I haven't like burned it or melted it yet, but it's kind of in the genre of Orange Blossom, which is another one in this little collection where it's like, wait, where's the 3-wick? Where's the 3-wick? Because right now I'm seeing a lot of candles on the floor here that are mediocre, very mediocre. This does not smell mediocre. Why is it only a single wick, right? Let's do some switching, some swapping here. Like, let's get this in the rotation. Oh my gosh. Stop. So this is a very balanced and nuanced candle. And I don't think that when I was in the store and I smelled it, I really picked up on all of the nuances because, you know, like the fragrance cacophony of Bath & Body Works, it's sometimes really hard, especially if you're like smelling a single wick, to get a really good sense for the fragrance, and you end up walking away and you're like, I think it's good, I think I like it, and then you get home and you're like, surprise, I either really do like it or really don't, you know? And it's often just not quite what you thought you were smelling in the store. This candle, when I was smelling it in the store, I was only picking up on like the cypress kind of balsam vibe to it and a little bit of like kind of an earthy moss back beneath it. And I was here for it, especially because you know how the fragrance experience is at Bath & Body Works. By the time you've gone to the front cash wrap or even a place where the single wicks are, you've probably smelled about 37 like tutti fruity, like personal fragrance kind of candles. And you're all up in here. If it was like a Willy Wonka like experience, you have probably like turned into some sort of tutti fruity like creature that would be happy at Claire's or Limited to or something like that, right? And then this. And I was just craving like that balsam and that moss, and it was so earthy and like so not sweet. But now that I'm smelling it here, it's actually got more mid to high notes, but they are less loud than the cypress and the moss, at least on cold. Now, all bets off when burned. I have found that often with some of Bath and Body Works' more like brilliant, rugged kind of botanical smells, upon being burned, they don't project as well as some of their like higher and sweeter notes. So if it's mixed with a floral, I'm finding that many of their like really brilliant botanical notes sometimes get lost upon being burned, unless they're like a floral or a citrus or something like that. And that is, I think, what the top part of this candle is. It's almost a very faint like lemon verbena note a little bit. And I don't love lemon verbena, so it's a lot better than what I associate with lemon verbena in my head. But it's kind of like this very bright, vaguely fruity, vaguely citrusy, vaguely floral and herbal kind of dimension right on the top of the candle. And it is brilliant. Oh gosh, that's a good candle. That's a good candle. Now, the way it's coming across, am I concerned about strength and throw? Yes. Is that often kind of a detraction from some botanicals? Yes, also. So there's that. It kind of goes with the territory, but man, this should be a three-way candle. I am here for this. All right, let's go to one that I think is kind of similar to it, which is, yes. So here's Tinsel Thyme from Kringle. Now, if this is coming across, I would say this one's coming across as about a 4 on a scale to 10, and this one comes across as like an 8 or 9. And Tinsel Thyme is a very strong performer for Kringle. I have burned Tinsel Thyme though in paraffin, and I don't know how well it performs in soy. This is a soy blend, and it seems to be doing fine. I do think the paraffin was a little bit louder, but this is one of the ones that Kringle has poured traditionally in both soy and paraffin, and they have for a very long time, which makes me think that their soy, that the reformulation of Tinsel Thyme to soy must be fairly successful for them to have been offered in tandem like that for such a long time. So that's encouraging. This is a very austere and very assertive, bold kind of balsam spruce and herbs. There is something vaguely berryish maybe on the bottom, and I'm thinking like currants maybe or something like that, which is why I think that they, along with the balsam, that they are marketing this as a Christmas candle. But everyone that I know who likes this tends to burn it in January, and I do too. There's just not anything overtly holiday-ish. And actually, I think if you burn this in the holiday season, people would be kind of like, oh, why are you burning that? There's just such a huge herbal dimension to this. It kind of takes you out of that holiday period. But it's fantastic in January and February when you still kind of want a little bit of balsam. You still have those like really kind of forbidding cold weather kind of environmental vibes in your vicinity, and the only thing that's like flourishing is balsam and spruce, you know? Oh, man, that's good. And it is the time for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few other green herbs in there too, along with some moss notes. But that is not for everyone. That is a niche candle for sure. This one is a little bit brighter, a little bit higher, and a little bit more fruity, this Cypress one. So I would say that this is probably the more general audience mainline version of Tinsel Thyme, and I don't think it has any. Oh, look, it does have some bergamot grove, fir needles, and green moss, moss and balsam. Bergamot is going to give you that. And well, I was kind of close where I said like lemon verbena. Thankfully, it is not like a bergamot oil, I want to be a men's cologne kind of vibe. It's like a true fresh citrus herbal kind of thing. So the entire candle is really very strongly botanical as opposed to like men's personal fragrance, which is unusual for Bath & Body Works, and I'm here for it. Those two are really similar. Let's go to this one, which is Canyon Pine Trail by Yankee. Brand new. Oh my gosh. Brand new. And this came out as an online exclusive and a brick and mortar Yankee candle store exclusive to the Under the Desert Sun collection, which came out in January, late January, early January if you were at Target. And that's the one that has the desert blooms in it, the aloe and agave, which was definitely a best new candle, the sweet vanilla and horchata, which is my private favorite, although a hot mess in a lot of ways, and stargazing, which was actually very popular, but I didn't like it as much. But great collection. I just thought it was really good. You know, was there anything that was like brilliant? I mean, other than the aloe and agave, but even the aloe and agave wasn't like it's not going to change your life, but it was a best new candle. It was very, very good and it performed very, very well. Yeah. But they were great at like giving us a diversified collection, making it a limited collection, making every single candle count on a certain level, making sense in terms of cohesion, in terms of concept, in terms of vibe, in terms of seasonality. Like, really, I have to give high marks to Yankee. Maybe I'm just kind of have a little bit of Kringle fatigue at this point of like, Kringle just comes out with a new collection or a new mini collection. It seems like an average of every 2 or 3 weeks. And like, many of them then sell out before anybody can get them. They're all very high priced. Some are mediocre. There's a ton of redundancy. Like, I'm just exhausted. And so in some ways, like, I think Yankee would just kind of really landed for me in an important way where it was like, thank God, here is the candle company that is going to come out with one collection in like 6 months. And it's going to be 4 candles with a bonus 5th. And every candle is going to make sense and it's going to be cohesive and there's going to be no overlaps or redundancy. And like, it was kind of a relief. It was kind of a relief. Thank you. We have one candle company that's not trying so hard to be Bath & Body Works. Bath & Body Works' vibe works for them, but they have a very unique, like, corporate and consumer footprint. Like, that works for them. All the other candle companies don't need to be Bath & Body Works, and probably they shouldn't try to be. And I'm just so pleased that for the most part, Yankee has avoided the like siren call here of Bath & Body Works and of trying so hard to be. It's just being them and being right for their company. Okay, I'm sorry. Rant over in that regard. So this one, okay, so if I smell this, and I smell this is so weird. If you smell these 2 candles and you're like, which one is Bath & Body Works? You'd be like, this one. There's no way. You would probably say there's no way that Bath & Body Works would do this candle. This is their candle vibe all the way. Oh, this is Bath & Body Works if there ever was one. But it's really beautiful because it does have a fairly robust, like, balsam presence on the bottom. And then it's got this, like, very, like, fruity, almost floral kind of vibe on top. And yes, it does go a little bit like personal fragrance. There is almost a vague soapiness about it. but it's like really beautiful. It's really beautiful. I mean, it's like the best version of that like Bath and Body Works vibe. Yeah. Ooh, man, that's good. And I don't know how it like performs on cold, and I don't even know if the fragrance transforms on cold. But I'm just, I mean, once burned, but on cold, man, that is beautiful. Bath and Body Works would kill for a fragrance like this, and they do very similar fragrances. It kind of reminds me a little bit, frankly, of the Goldenberry and Mistletoe that came out. And it was a little bit like Capri Blue Volcano-like in that it had the balsam and then it had like this like citrusy thing on top. Yeah? And if you don't know, Capri Blue Volcano does in fact have quote unquote mountain greens on the bottom of that fragrance. Overwhelmed, I think, by the high perfume and a high effervescent citrus notes in that particular fragrance. I prefer a much stronger mountain green and a little bit less perfume and a little bit less effervescence. And that's what Goldenberry and Mistletoe was giving me, and that's what this candle is giving me as well. Don't get it twisted. This is not like some sort of dupe for like Capri Blue Volcano. And in fact, I didn't even make the connection until just now when I'm talking to you, but it's because I made the connection to Goldenberry Mistletoe and then Goldenberry and Mistletoe, I did make that connection to Capri Blue. This one is a little bit more balsam heavy even than Goldenberry Mistletoe, I think. I wish I had a Goldenberry Mistletoe to kind of compare it. It could be very much in this genre as well. A great January burn. This one, if I'm not mistaken, though, has a bit more floral in it than Goldenberry and Mistletoe, and in that sense is very apropos to our like forest florals kind of vibe. And definitely, what a versatile candle for it to come out in January like this. And like, yes, you can absolutely burn this. Frankly, you could burn this through the spring and through the summer, and you could burn it in the holiday season. This is an incredibly versatile candle, and it's very commercial. Gosh, if it performs, it might be a best new candle. Kenyan Pine Trail. Tell me if you've got it, picked it up, whatever else. All right, Midnight Forest. Here's our other Yankee one. Oh my gosh. All right, so this one is classy. This one is cool. This one is sophisticated. Like, this one's more commercial and more like Bath and Body Works-ish, which is its own vibe, like no shade at all. This is very dark, deep, sophisticated, nuanced. It's a little more premium smelling. So this is, I told you, Chesapeake Bay, Midnight Forest. I bought this one at Target, but it is available on Yankee Candle's website too because they did buy out Chesapeake Bay candles a while back. I don't know. Up to a decade back, but it might have been less than that. Maybe more like 7 years ago, 6 years ago. Now, when I initially hauled this like a couple days ago, I said that it might be more of a midnight jungle because I was getting very strong like dewy green vibes to it, like almost in a like palm tree kind of way. But now that I'm smelling it again, I'm noticing more of the herbal dimension and the musky dimension and the balsamy dimension and the mossy dimension. And now I'm like, oh, it's definitely more of a forest because you wouldn't really get like the same kind of moss in a jungle. You wouldn't get the same kind of herbs in a jungle or balsam in a jungle. But I do want to flag the fact that there is a very strong and bright, dewy green palm tree vine kind of vibe too, which I don't know is completely organic to many forests. It must be a very strange ecosystem. Man, that's good. It's got a lot of the austerity of the herbs that are kind of like in this Tinsel Thyme one, although not as thyme. And I'm not going to lie to you, the strength and throw on this one is nowhere near what the Tinsel Thyme is, at least on cold. That's a 2-wick. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It's so funny though. Like these two are perfectly contrasting. And that this one is all like high, bright, glossy commercial. And then this one is like back down into the basement. Dark, complex, sophisticated, not for everyone, acquired taste. Whew. Last but not least, Frosty Branches. Oh man, and this is almost like right in between them. It has a very strong, like, balsam spruce, but it has a lightness and a brightness and a botanical green vinishness about it. I just made up that word. And some floral. So it's got the higher notes that kind of mimic some of what's in here, along with the green vine note, which is also present in this. And then it's got like some sophisticated darker elements as well. It's so gorgeous. But I do have to say that this is a solidly like mid to higher range candle. And I think it was just so overlooked because like people like bought it at Christmas time and they're like, what is this? It's a spring candle. It really is a spring candle. It's so green, it's so vibrant, and it's sweet as in almost like a floral sweetness. This is not a Christmas burn. And it's unseasonal, I mean, depending upon where you live, obviously, but it's unseasonal in that it's way too many like very vibrant green vine kind of vibes. Most places in the cold winter months, none of this is going to be blooming. So it's just kind of odd in that respect, but not odd at all in spring or even in summer. And you know what? I think I'll do this one for Christmas in July. I like to do, well, at least last year I did, and I think I'm going to keep it up, in January burning, or in July. Some people like, I don't know, it's an American thing, Christmas in July. I don't even know where or how it started, but doing some sort of kind of like Christmas vibe-ish celebration. It's like midway to Christmas, essentially. And an excuse for the people who are like Christmas files to get all their Christmas things out and be like, oh my gosh, only 6 more months till Christmas. Anyway, I thought it was a great opportunity to burn some Christmas marketed candles, or candles that for whatever reasons are generally burned in the Christmas season, but I think in terms of the fragrance are either like mismarketed or could very well be burned at other times in the season. And as candle reviewers, we often come across those. You know, a candle will come out and we'll be like, oh, this is marketed for Christmas, but honestly, I would probably burn this in March, or I would probably burn, right? But then we never like actually go back and like tell the audience, hey, I'm burning this in March. Burn it with me. You know what I mean? We say that we could, but then we don't like do it in an obvious way. So I kind of like that Christmas and July period to review and burn a few like Christmas candles that I am totally burning in July, and I think you can too. I think it's kind of a fun moment. So I think we'll do this one in July. We'll do Frosty Branches in July. That's what I've got for you. I know that was just kind of a random video and like it wasn't particularly helpful in that like I haven't burned a lot of these. I did burn this one in a daylight and I have burned Tinsel Thyme, but I haven't burned the Yankees, the Midnight Forest or the Pine Canyon, and I haven't burned Cypress yet from White Barn from Bath & Body Works. I will link below. I think all these candles are available. So I will link them all below down under. And definitely let me know if you've smelled these, if you've burned these, if this is your vibe, if it's not your vibe, like what you think, if you've got some other cool information about it, if there are other candles that you think would also fit in this category and want to shout those out. I would love that because as it's obvious here to me and to all of you, this is one of my vibes. I gravitate toward this genre of candles. And if you do too, do you have these in your collection? Let's share. Let's group think together. What else would we put in this particular collection? What is a standout? Thanks for joining me today. I know I've got other reviews. I've got a lot of Bath & Body Works. I've got the wedding collection. I've got Yui and the Sea. I've got vanilla mahogany and I continue burning. I'm burning a couple very lackluster candles right now. I am burning, okay, so last night I was walking through the house and I'm like, I am burning 3 candles in my home right now. It's not that big of a house. 3 candles at one time. And I'm not smelling anything. How bad is it when you've got 3 candles burning in your house? And like, I even like took the trash to the curb and came back and opened the door and was like, my house doesn't smell like anything. 3 candles. 3. 1 in a hurricane. Major side eye. But at any rate, I do have some good candles that I've burned too, and hopefully the next round will be better. I'll catch you in the next one.